Hi everyone, welcome to Inspired TV with Karie Millspaugh. And today in my hot seat I have Eden Capsouto, who I've been watching for quite some time. She was always Eden Little up until recently, and now she's Eden Capsouto, which means she got married in the last couple of years. But more importantly, I was inspired to actually create this TV show because of her. She is such an amazing bright light and has so much to give, and despite whatever situation she is in, she finds a solution, which is what this TV program is all about, is finding a solution within your situation. And I just want to hope, and more than anything, give from the heart today and inspire you to live a bigger life. How can you help in your community? And just sit back and be super inspired with Eden's story today. So even though throughout this video you don't see me, for some reason we had a snafu. I don't know if it's because Mercury was in retrograde. I don't know, but you get to hear me. So the spotlight's completely on Eden in this episode. And just sit back and enjoy, and you'll hear me in the background give questions. But the spotlight's all Eden's. So hope today's episode is very good for you.
I'm great. Thank you for inviting me. I never really knew that part of it, so that's awesome. Thank you.
Right. It's all those inspiration thoughts that nobody really knows what's going on in my mind. But, you know, the whole point is really we all have certain things that happen in our life, and it's how we decide to look at the situation. How can we find a solution? How can we go forward? So Eden, share with us, and she's here in Las Vegas with me. I believe she's a native of Las Vegas, and we were just talking about the clouds we have today, which is odd, but you know, it might even rain, which is a big surprise. But she's here in the same city with me, so Eden, take it away. Start wherever you want to, and kind of share with our audience about your life.
Okay, well, I am Eden Capsouto. I have three amazing kiddos, actually four, one stepson who's also amazing, and three of my own children at ages of 17 and 21. She'll be 22 next month. Crazy. And I'm married to Tony. We've been married now, like you said, it'll be 2 years in Christmas Eve in December, so woohoo. And, you know, I don't know where you want me to start. Do you just want me to start kind of my story with the kids?
Yes.
Okay, so I am 38 now. I'm happy to say my age. I'm sure in 10 years I won't be feeling that way. But when I was 16, I had Taylor, and I had her. She was born 3.5 months early. She was at 24 weeks gestation, weighing 1 pound, 12 ounces. And then let's fast forward a few years later, 4 years later, and I had the twins, Jordan and Aaron, who are now 17. And they were also born at 24 weeks, 25 weeks gestation, weighing, Jordan weighed 1 pound 15 ounces, and Aaron weighed 1 pound 11 ounces. So due to all of their, I mean, between, you know, within that time span, there was just, as you can imagine, you know, a lot of hospitalization, a lot of challenges, a lot of surgeries. They all three were diagnosed with cerebral palsy, ranging from very moderately involved to very mild. And so that has really started that journey it's really started me on a journey. The rest of my, right now where I'm at 38 years old, I often laugh and I said, you know, if I could, and maybe someday I would write a book about them, because they are my heroes, but it would be called Raising Eden, because they really have raised me through their challenges. And you know, imagining 16 years at age, you don't really know what you're doing. So we think we know what we're doing. However, we know better than that. So, and that's kind of where I'm at now. But with all of that, with a lot of the challenges that they've had, and being, you know, at times discriminated against, that comes with it, and not included in school and activities, I've had to really learn how to advocate and how to fight for my children, and Mama Bear has come out, and also really what's important for me, and you know, they've also taught me, you know, I feel like I am a very strong believer of Jesus Christ, and I wasn't before, so they have really, God has used them to introduce me to Him and introduce me to just a better way of living, and I'm just thoroughly blessed to be their mom.
That's gorgeous. So age 16 was when you had, or was it 17 when you had Taylor? or your
When I
husband?
was 16 when I had Taylor, yeah. So I was a junior in high school when I had her.
What kind of support team did you have at that time?
I was really blessed looking back. I had parents who loved me, a divorced family, though they loved me and were there to support me. And I was a teenager. At that time, I was a troubled teenager. I liked to get into trouble, and boys and doing things weren't the best choices. But I did overall have like a really supportive family. And I'm so grateful for that and having family that just really loved me and just truly, simply loved me. They weren't happy about when I had gotten pregnant, obviously. So when I did go into labor at that time, I was living with my mom, and it was something we had never known. We'd never known anybody that even had a disability. I would look at someone who was diagnosed with Down syndrome, and I, in my mind back then, would say, "Oh, I felt so sorry for them or their family members." And that's how much I knew because when I was 16, it wasn't an inclusive, we didn't have individuals with special needs in the school district. We did, but not, it was very limited. They were more in special classes. You didn't see them often, and they weren't inclusive in our environment, in our community like they are now. And even now we can work on that. However, they weren't. So I just didn't know any better. So I remember when I went into labor, my mom, being very young, me being very young, my mom and I had no idea. It was in the middle of the night. They said you need to deliver this baby, and at this time I'm just turned 6 months pregnant, so I had barely even felt her moving around in my tummy. I was just starting to feel that, so I had no idea what was about to happen, and didn't even really believe that she would live, and she did, and she was hospitalized for 5 months. Went through numerous surgeries, and was, and now, and had a lot of complications, and that just kind of set the stage for what's to come,
Mm-hmm. Well, I know she's going on 22, God bless her, so she is a little miracle. What was going through your mind? Like, she was in the hospital for that long. What was the doctor's prognosis? Were they thinking just prepare for the worst, or what was going through your head at that time?
Well, after a month of her being in the hospital, she had a lot of fluid had become to accumulate on her brain. So like a couple days after she was born, what they did was they looked, they do a CAT scan, they do all these tests to see, and she had they grade the bleed because I had had her just I had had her regular birth. So when she came out, she was just so small that there was a lot of pressure on her brain. So her brain started to bleed and started to clot. So what they do is they grade them from grade 1 to grade 4 on each side of on her brain. And I say there because it was ironic how it was so similar that happened with the twins as well. And when she was born, on both sides, it was a grade 4 bleed. So it was the worst possible scenario we could have asked for. And it started to hemorrhage. It hemorrhaged and it started to clot. So that fluid couldn't pass through her brain like it would, like on a daily basis it's passing through our brain, and it couldn't do that. So what they had to do is go ahead and put what's called a shunt in her brain to allow the fluid to go through. And I'm not sure if you're familiar or your viewers are familiar with that, but they did have a meeting with me and my family at the time, and they said, listen, we just want to let you know that if Taylor somewhat smiles or makes sounds, then that will be a miracle. But at this point, what we're seeing she's going to be a vegetable and that she will never be able to do any of that. And this was before the surgery. So even with the surgery, this is what we're seeing. So, and the doctor said to me, and I would love, Eden, if, in years to come, you can come back to me and tell me a liar, but I'm telling you this is what's going to happen. And I'm grateful too in some ways. I've had people say, oh man, those doctors. I'm like, well, I would rather, for me, because I'm a fighter anyway, so I would rather, I'm like, I'll show you kind of gal. So I would rather they would have told me that than just set my hopes up high.
Right.
I'm really grateful for that, because I did go back and tell him he's a liar. So, and he was very happy about that. So that's, that's
I'm
awesome.
sure you enjoyed it.
Yeah, he did. He was very happy about that. So, but she does have her challenges. Taylor will be 22, and she is cognitively extremely delayed. She doesn't read or write. However, she doesn't, she walks with a very awkward gait, and she drools, and there are a lot of challenges there, and challenges ahead. There's, this is a whole new ball game, me being a parent of adults with cerebral palsy. It's like new transitions as we go, through, it's daily. So I don't know really what's to come. However, she is gifted with an amazing personality. So yes, she is definitely, that is her gift. So I know she makes an impact wherever she goes. So that is a blessing.
Absolutely. God can use anybody, for sure.
Oh, and he uses her on a daily basis, and my other two. So, yeah.
So fast forward past Taylor, you can breathe. You feel like, okay, she's passed some surgeries, and then you have Aiden and Jordan, and then you're pregnant again with twins. What's going through your thoughts then?
Well, and then, in that time I was young. I was single with Taylor. Then I did end up, I found someone who loved Taylor, and I had gotten married and to the twins' father, and then had them. We actually lived at the time, he was a police officer, and we lived near Dallas, Texas, and had twins, and just some challenges came up there, so we moved back home. And at that time, I was fearful, but I was told by the doctors, you were just young, you were only 16, and this is 4 years later, and, and I'm in I'm 20 at this time. I'm still young. Both pregnancies were not planned. And so when, I don't think I ever thought it could happen twice, Karie. Honestly, I didn't even think that it was possible. I thought, I was just 16, I was young. And I wasn't fully developed and ready to have a baby, because it's very common for young girls that are, teenagers or younger, and their bodies aren't ready, that they go into preterm labor. So when I delivered the twins, and it was almost to the exact day, and we had moved home, we had moved back to my home, which I am so grateful for, which is here, and just a few weeks before that we had moved here. So we were just getting settled in. We hadn't even had our own home yet, and my and he's now my ex-husband, but my husband at the time was trying to find a job. We were going through a lot of stressful situations. And we moved here, the doctor said to me, the first thing I did was go to a doctor like the second day, and he said, listen, you need to be on partial bed rest. I don't really know what partial bed rest is, especially for me, but you don't tell me to be on partial bed rest.
Doesn't sleeping at night count?
Yeah, at this time I have a 4-year-old, they can't walk, and so that really didn't, I don't think partial bed rest was putting my feet up for 30 minutes, so then to the day I delivered the twins, that I did with Taylor, and it was just it was crazy. In fact, I was even, both pregnancies, I was due for my 6-month ultrasound checkup the next day. So that day when I delivered the twins, my mom was watching. We had my mom watch Taylor so I could go to that appointment, but 3 hours early I go into labor and I have them, and I was so fearful, and I had already been through this with Taylor, so I knew those milestones of even just being in the hospital. In day 3 they're going to do the ultrasound of the brain. It just seemed like it took so long for everything to happen. Let's get those results back, and it seemed the twins are, they didn't have as rough as a road as Taylor at all. They did have the bleeds on their brain, but not as severe. So they did not have to have, and they didn't have any blood clots or hemorrhaging, so they didn't have to have the shunt, which, so there's a lot of good. They didn't have as rough a time as her. They both were in 2.5 months in the NICU versus Taylor for 5 months. However, so now we're back to this road. So for after that, I was blessed to be able to stay home the first 5 years of their life, and our lives basically were just physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. I believe I would take them. We were up to 11 times a week of just therapy appointments between the 3 of them. So that was really my day up until age 5, was taking them to those therapy and doctor and getting them included and doing my best. So
I'm sure at some point you felt like this is deja vu. I already did this with one child. I can't believe this is happening again.
Yes, and I felt like a failure at one point. I really did. Like, why did I, what did I do to deserve this? I mean, you go through that, like, why, especially when the twins were born, like, really, why would I'm putting them through this, knowing, it just, I think a lot of those things I've come to term with and let them go, so I don't even remember them. But I know there was a few years for a long time I did a lot of blaming myself. And, we just know that sometimes we don't have the answer always.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. No, I know. Moms have guilt anyway.
Yes, I do daily still. I have to check myself. Like, I could do more. I could do, yeah.
The littlest stuff. I mean, I'll schedule a night out and go, oh, I really should be home. It's like, no, I need my time too.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way. All right, I'm going to work out. That's an hour and a half taken away from my kids. And they really probably could care less, but
they're like, oh, you're back?
Yeah. Oh, man, that means I have to come.
I didn't know you left.
Yeah, I know. So.
Yeah, it's so important. So how do you maintain balance, Eden? Because you do have a career as well. So go into that a little bit.
Well, and there's kind of a reason for that career. When Taylor was 5, she was in kindergarten, and she was going into 1st grade. That was a whole new world for me, because she was very, like, I would say, more included in the school district, and and when she went into 1st grade, she was going to a different school. They were busing her. It was about 5 miles from the home. It wasn't our regular, our neighborhood school. It was in a not so great neighborhood. Like, I wouldn't have chose it. I didn't, live there on purpose. So I lived in the neighborhood I lived because I wanted my children to go to these schools and be a part of this neighborhood and be with those friends that they play with or that come knocking on our door. So that was a big red flag for me. And then I went and I visited the school, and I met the teacher, and I saw this classroom she would be in, and I talked to her and asked questions. And I'm like, so, just simple questions like, well, what happens, because it was so new to me. Going into 1st grade is very different, and you're now in public school, and kindergarten is too, but it's just different. They're not babies anymore, and they're with the rest of the school. They eat lunch with them. They play with them. Well, the thing that I asked, because I was so concerned, is so what happens if, the kids are made fun of? And in my head, that was, as a mom, that's the last thing we want. Right. And Taylor was different. At the time, she used a walker. She had leg braces. She's always had glasses, but, definitely noticeable, very little. And that was just a big concern. And the teacher had made a comment to me like, I can't even remember exactly word to word, but she said, well, we just don't really have them. It was more like they don't really let them be included with the general ed. They're stopping that. From those comments being made, they don't even really let them be around them. So, and which is sad. And it just her whole, just everything. The red flag, the mama red flag.
Yes.
The mama red flag came out. So I called the district, and boy, that was like an ugly mess. Before you know it, there's a lawsuit, because I asked, why is my daughter not in the neighborhood school? Why isn't she getting, being with these kids? Well, they said she's delayed, she needs a one-on-one assistant, all of these things. Well, why can't we get that for her? And, no, it was just the doors were slamming. So I had to learn. I had to get an advocate and learn the law. And we went through numerous meetings and ugliness, and we were in meetings with about 20, 30 people. It was crazy, Karie. And at one point, one of these administrators had said to me, and at the time I was only 22, and they said, they literally said, you're only 22. You're not the professional here. We're the professional. And I looked at them and I felt like, because I was arguing with some of the things they were saying that Taylor didn't know for her to be included, and I was arguing with them. And I finally felt like when I walked away from that meeting, I felt so torn and like I was a failure as a parent and that I didn't know what was best for my child. It was just an awful feeling, because really I'm the professional of of her, of all three of them. We know when they stub their toe. We know the little mark. We know everything. We know that they don't like bananas. Mm-hmm. We are there. That's why we're here, and it's supposed to be a team. So I was so angry, and I remember telling my ex-husband, "Screw this! I am going to get my degree, and I am going to be working with every single one of those people in that meeting someday, and I'm going to show them." Like I was in my fight mode, and I did. I went back to school, and I got my bachelor's and my master's. So I have my bachelor's in special ed, and I can teach kindergarten through 12th grade. And then I went back, and I had gotten my master's, and in an emphasis with autism and early childhood. So now I'm teaching 3 to 6 year olds with autism. Now I'm on my 11th year. But I will tell you, almost every single one of those individuals, but 2 I have worked with. Every single one was awesome. Wow. And it's been awesome because some of them have come to me and apologized and said, when I walked out of that meeting, it was really ugly. But needless to say, what ended up happening is I ended up getting an attorney and filing a lawsuit, and I ended up against the school district, who I now work for, and before it went through, we were able to get her a one-on-one assistant, and we were also able to get her included, so she was in a regular classroom with that one-on-one assistant. Then she would be pulled out and into a specialized classroom for more of her needs that could be more individualized. And then she went through every year we're supposed to meet annually and, change what needs to be changed and get, so she's more included or take that assistant away. So by the time she was in 10th grade, I had to actually fight to get that assistant taken away so she could be more independent. So I've also had to do that with the twins and other areas. But that's kind of the story there. So that's why I went into teaching. So
I love it. And your fire lasted all through the years of schooling that it took to get there, because sometimes we get so fired up we want to do something with an instant result right now, but it carried you.
And some days even now I'm still teaching, but I'm teaching because I know those kids need me in there and the parents need me. But believe me, there were some days, and I'll be honest, I want to do something. It's not the profession to go in for money. I just know that's where I'm supposed to be at this moment. But I also know and I feel that I'm not supposed to be there forever. So I'm just waiting for that, for God to be pretty clear with me on that one, on my next step. So, hopefully that'll come up sooner than later.
That's beautiful, though. That is a beautiful story. That is awesome. So tell me how you guys, and Eden has a not-for-profit called My Team Triumph, the Light of Las Vegas.
Correct.
And so how did that evolve? Start with your whole running story, because you've got me inspired to pick up running and to start doing 5Ks with my daughter. So
good.
That story.
Yeah, you need to come run with us. So about a few years ago, I was training for a triathlon, and it was just a sprint triathlon, and I wanted to get in better shape. Also mentally, for exercising is my drug of choice. it does, I've never, people laugh and they say, are you on antidepressants? I'm like, no, I just have to run or exercise a lot. So that definitely is my happy pill, that's my happy juice that I personally couldn't live without it, and can see a difference. So I decided I was going through just like one of those seasons in my life, and decided that I needed to do train for this triathlon, and got a trainer, and was just, would wake up really early in the morning before the kids wake up and go. And I was single at the time, and I had this, it's so crazy, but I had this crazy dream. I woke up with this dream, and I don't know if you're familiar. I think we briefly talked about it with Team Hoyt. That is Dick Hoyt. He is, I believe now 75. He's 75, I believe. I may get the right. Sorry, Dick. And then his son is Rick Hoyt, and Rick has cerebral palsy, and Rick is now 53. And many are familiar with, I'm sure familiar with the story. If not, you can YouTube Team Hoyt and see a video from it, because it's definitely inspiring. I think something that everybody should watch. But at age 40, he decided to do, I think his son came to him. I don't know the whole complete story, but came to him and wanted to do triathlons or run, and be, and Rick is very involved with cerebral palsy, and his dad decided to train and run with him, by pushing him. And then he's done Ironman. They've done, oh gosh, wow, you name it, right? And the Boston Marathon's one of their biggest, because they're from Boston, that area. So I had this dream about them, and honestly, Karie, I can't even tell you what the dream was. I just know I woke up and it was about Team Hoyt, and I thought, that was so weird. And then I felt like something was telling me I had to do a triathlon with one of my girls, and I can barely make it. I could at the time barely make it through a triathlon. I'm like, I can barely do it, and in my head, I'm just a woman. This is this man, right? So this is this man, muscular. He can, strong. I'm right. How could I push and pull my child through a triathlon? So funny enough, I didn't tell anybody this. And that night, I got a text from a friend that told me, hey, I posted a link to Taylor's Facebook, which is, my oldest daughter. And I went on there and I looked, and it was a link that was about an 8-year-old pulling his 6-year-old brother through a triathlon. And I had not told anybody about this dream or what I was feeling that day. It was just very odd. So I sat there and I thought that was one of those God nods, like, yeah, if he can do it, you can do it. So I went to my trainer and asked him, and could I do this? And nobody really knows anything, here in Vegas, because we just started bringing triathlons to the city, so it's a new thing, and we don't, so then I just thought, well, I went on Facebook and I shared that video again and how they inspired me, and someone responded, this awesome woman named Luann, who I don't even know how we met, but we're Facebook friends, said, hey, I know him, Dick Hoyt, and I've told him about you. So I thought she knows him. So I actually sent her a private message, and I said, hey, that's just so interesting. This is what I'm feeling. Do you know if there's anyone you can contact? Because it was just all crazy how it worked. And she said, well, actually, I'm very close friends with his publicist. So his publicist called me or sent me a message within 24 hours and said, hey, in the next 24 hours, one of these, or 48 hours, I don't remember, one of these 3 people are going to contact you. And one of them was Rooster Rossiter. Another one was Jenny Long of the Long Brothers, who I saw that video from.
Wow.
Yeah, it just all was crazy. So, and then another one, Ronald Robb, who Ron has started My Team Triumph, and it's a national organization. And then I started the chapter here in Las Vegas. So I was connected with them, and then within a week, I don't know the exact time frame, they sent me a chair to use to push Taylor and start running and training with her. So I just started running with her. We started doing 5Ks. We started doing 10Ks. And then in November of 2012, I believe, and I was going to do the rock and roll half marathon. I thought, because that's our big Las Vegas. If anyone is from here, you know, it's where they you know, where we go run down the strip, the half and full marathon, and half the city is closed, like the roads are closed, and it's hard to go anywhere. So we were all very familiar with that race. So I thought, well, maybe I could do a half with her, you know. Well, unfortunately, my father had passed away during that time, so I just stopped training and was going through that, but like a week before the race happened, this man by the name of Peter Klein called, and he called Rooster, who I had been in contact with one of my contacts, and now we started, you know, they were helping me go further in what I was doing, and I still wasn't sure what the next step, if I was going to start an organization or if I was just going to get the equipment to do it, a try, or what I was going to do. So Peter had contacted because he was going to come down here and push another young adult, I think he was like 17 at the time, through the full marathon, the rock and roll, and they needed a chair. So they called and said, hey, can he use your chair? I'm like, absolutely. It's not my chair. It's, you know, anyone can use this chair if we're not using it. So we met with Peter, gave him the chair. Well, that individual ended up not doing the race, dropped out. So Peter called me and said to me, hey, Eden, can I use one of your girls? And would they like to have an opportunity to run through, you know, a marathon with me? And I absolutely. So we asked my other daughter, she's bigger than little Tay, you know, and we said, hey, would you like to? And she, you know, she's more hesitant, and she at that time said no. And then Taylor, of course, raises, you know, she's the gamer in the family, so she was. So long story short, so Taylor ended up being able to do this full marathon. Well, for me, I don't think I realized what that meant, because I just kind of stood back there when they went to start, and when they hit the start button and he went through with her, it was like this overwhelming experience for me, because I was actually watching, my daughter was an athlete for the first time, and just that feeling of, you know, I gave up those dreams a long time ago, and I think I just didn't think they were possible. However, that's not the truth. That's unfortunate that I gave up that, because now I see anything is possible. So she did complete the full marathon with his legs. Basically, she borrowed his legs to push, and it was an amazing experience. People were cheering them on. You know, we got to like map them out, and I just got to experience what it felt like to be a mom of an athlete that I never thought I would get to. So after that race, I definitely, again, feel like that was a God shot for me to go, okay, now you know what this feels like, and this is what other families need to feel like. So since then, we started the nonprofit, and we call it the Light of Las Vegas. And last September, I had started it. My husband, Tony, is helping me tremendously. I couldn't do this without his help. And we started last year, where it was just Peter came back and he pushed my daughter Erin, my other one, through the full, and I pushed Taylor through the half. I'm not at this point ready for a full. I will be someday, but I wasn't at that point ready. And so we got to experience that. And now this year, next month, we'll be doing it again, and we will have 6 other captains. So yeah, so actually a total of 7 captains for Light of Las Vegas, and Peter will be coming back, and he's actually will be bringing other captains. So we'll probably have close to 15 individuals with special needs, rider athletes, being in that marathon. So we're really excited.
That's what pulled me in. I kept seeing your pictures on Facebook. I'm like, what is she up to? And that's just too cool. What are you guys doing? You know, and of course, I have a lot of friends that do, you know, triathlons and marathons. I myself have not gotten there yet, but just very inspired. And, you know, just thank you for sharing that feeling as a mom, to see that happen, you know, and how encouraging and inspiring it is for you. What is Taylor's mindset around this? What have you noticed with her?
This has definitely changed. Her it's changed her life. I think, you know, it's hard to know exactly how she's feeling, but I do know, you know, she has been a challenge her whole life with, you know, some negative behaviors and just not being motivated enough, and you know, her language has been delayed. And immediately after I started running with her, it was giving her a purpose. I've seen an increase like in her language. Is everyone meant always is going, man, I can't believe how good Taylor is talking and communicating, and the jokes she's saying is sometimes better than things that we would say, you know, like the sense of humor, like and just her motivation is so much different. She just loves it. She has this own little community. She's like the rock star of the group, you know. And she'll often say to me, it's funny, she'll, you know, before we go to bed usually on Friday night, because she'll say, are we training in the morning? So she gets all serious, gets her workout gear and, you know, her training gear on, and is ready to roll, you know, really ready to roll. So it's definitely changed our life. And now Erin is involved as well, my 17-year-old daughter. And I just recently, with Taylor, my son Jordan, he is visually impaired, and he, you know, he has CP, but very mild. You wouldn't know unless you saw him, then you'd go, okay, unless you knew him, but you wouldn't know just having a conversation with him that he's been diagnosed with cerebral palsy. However, he just did a 5K with me and finished with me pushing Taylor in September. So that was exciting for me. Yeah, all my children were in a race, and we were all part of this together, and it's just really you know, it's kind of just come along on its own. We're just plugging away to see what happens next.
I love that it's something like that can change the mindset, you know.
Oh, it can, yeah. Well, and I see it change so many other people too. You know, I have one of my assistants that I work with, her son is also, you know, he has cerebral palsy and he's nonverbal, and he also is one of our captains. And I was telling her the other day, I said, you know, it's so funny because every time someone runs with David, it's like they're more involved in this organization because he's just so joyful. He just smiles and laughs and hugs you, and I was telling her this. I said, I think, you know, he teaches so many people so many things. And she was, you know, got very emotional, said, you know, I prayed for so long to see what his mission was here and what the purpose was for David. And I said, well, I think he's showing his purpose to you and to others naturally. We just never had a chance to see it.
Right.
So that's, you know, what this is all about. I always laugh and I say, what if, you know, our kids they're the normal ones and we're the weird ones, you know. That's probably very true. So
yes, we're the children, they're the parents. It's really,
I know,
like you said.
Some days, yeah. Don't let that go there.
They have raised you. I've totally watched the whole evolution from birth to the career choice you've chosen, to the running and including them, to this new non-profit chapter in your life. I mean, this is totally, they've molded Eden completely.
Yeah. Well, and I always say, and he did it through them. So
yes.
Yeah, I have to remind myself that, because they did, and I still feel like there's a lot to come out of this, you know. So we're just plugging away. It's not easy, you know. Believe me.
No, it's.
Oh yeah.
It's not all fairy dust and gumdrops.
Yes. However, and sometimes sometimes I'm feeling like it's unbearable. There are moments I do feel that way. However, it's the simple little things that really take all that feeling, that unbearable feeling away. Or like a laughter or a funny joke, or like just something big. Like Erin, my daughter Erin, the other day, you know, is in high school, and her and her twin, you know, Jordan, are seniors. They both go to 2 different schools. But Erin was in the choir, and she had a choir performance. And when, you know, it's hard sometimes standing back and just letting our kids, I mean, even my kids that do have special needs, just letting them do their own thing and figure out, you know, as they go along. But when that curtain opened, what she had done is she uses a walker. She has a hard time standing or walking independently without falling. And so she shoved that walker behind her and away from her, and the whole time for 15 minutes stood on that stage and sang, and you could see like her wobbling a little bit, but she did it. She didn't want it near her with all the other girls. And I remember I said to my husband, we need to pray this whole time, because I am like I'm the nervous wreck that she's gonna fall or stumble. But those are moments when you say, look at them, they're totally capable. We just have to stand back and let them do their thing, you know.
I would have held my breath the whole 15 minutes.
Oh, I did the whole time. I was so nervous. I was so relieved when it was over. But she did not see it that way. So she was not one bit. So that is okay. So I'm glad I wasn't there to stop her. I would have held her back.
Yes, and we do that sometimes. Yes. So,
yeah, we do.
So you've been listening to God's whisperers, it sounds like, little nudges that He gives us, and keep moving forward. What do you think is with the next step? Do you have an idea? Has He shed a little light on what's next for you and your beautiful family?
I don't know what the next step is. You know, I would hate to even guess that. I think that, you know, I sometimes often too am scared of knowing.
I know. He gives us what we can handle. That's it.
Yes. I do know that I do feel I'm supposed to finish a triathlon with my girls, one of my girls. I really, the truth, do I want to do that? But I do believe that I'm supposed to train to do that. So right now we're working hard to raise money for my Team Triumph Flight of Las Vegas. You know, we were able to we have 5 chairs right now, and we have a trailer that we just got donated, which was awesome, to hold that equipment. So now we can get more equipment. So that's one of the things that we're doing for the Rock and Rolls. We're doing a lot of fundraising. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to earn enough money to get some equipment that not just me, but this isn't about my family. This is about others in our community, and, you know, raising that awareness and including those other captains through that. So I'm hoping that we get to do that within the next year. As far as I don't really know what the next step is. You know, I really don't. I never, Karie, in my life. I mean, I tell people I am not a runner. So I am a runner now. I never ran up until, you know, I ran a little bit 10 years ago, and then I stopped. Up until 3 years ago, I never ran. So it's
wow. So there is hope for me. Yay!
There is hope. Yes, actually not hope. You will do it. I have faith. I'm going to actually, I think that we should commit on this call that you do.
Oh, man.
This will hold you accountable.
Right.
When you say it.
I know,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When everybody sees it, then I have to make it happen.
Yeah,
I do feel, you know, like I'll break away from my calls during the day, and I'll go run for about 10 minutes, and I'm like, God, I feel so clear. Like, that's so, I feel like I can solve the world's problems now. What just happened in 10 minutes? Even for a short, quick run.
Yeah, it's true. Well, and we do. I have a couple girlfriends that because my days are packed, you know, at this point right now with working and doing this. I feel like I have 2 full-time jobs and raising the kiddos, and so we have to literally wake up at 3:30 a.m. And believe me, I know it's crazy, but we'll run about 5 miles. And I tell you now, I feel when I don't do it, just the clarity is not there. I'm just a mess. You know, I have that moment. I mean, we're not doing it for speed. We're just doing it, you know, for strength and to get those miles in. And now that time with good quality friends, you know, is just invaluable.
Yes.
I mean, it is. So, yeah, so.
It is a drive. I can see where that can happen. Exercise in general, you know, even hiking and things. Yeah. You're like, oh, that's the best endorphins ever.
Yes, I know you love that. I know you love hiking. Yeah.
Yes, so running it is. I'm picking it up. No excuses, and my daughter loves it too. We did do a 5K a couple years ago, and she's kind of saved her energy for the end and sprinted off, and I couldn't catch her. I'm like, are you kidding me?
That's awesome. I think you should commit. You should commit to you should commit to one of our races with us and run with it. You don't have to push, but you can just run with us. Yes. And then you may be, you know, inspired by. In fact, I know you would be. But yeah.
5Ks to start, and then we'll keep going. I mean, they're everywhere here in the city. So
they are. They are everywhere. We have a 10K A 5K, there's options, 5K and a 10K tomorrow, which is 3 miles versus 6
Right.
miles, if those who aren't runners don't know that. So tomorrow we will be here doing, our team is going to be running, and most of the teams will be running 10Ks. So to gear up for the half full marathon next month. So that'll be exciting. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, how can our listeners find you, Eden? What is the best way if they want to donate for the non-for-profit or just follow what you're doing? Where's the best spot for them to find you, stalk you, or send money?
Well, they can go if they want to learn about me and my family. We always love donations or even volunteers. We're always needing them. They can go to lightoflasvegas.org. So it's www.lightoflasvegas.org. Light, just no S's, just Light of Las Vegas. And two, if they know of an individual in the Las Vegas area, Henderson area, that has special needs that they feel would be a perfect candidate to run with us, we're in need. We're just starting to become getting some more chairs and needing some more captains, and the more the merrier. So, and if we don't have the equipment, that means we have to earn the money to get it. So that's good as well. So
that's right. Nothing wrong with growing. That's awesome. I love it. So guys, definitely find her. If you're watching this, will be in the link as well in the body of the YouTube video. Let's make it quick and easy for you to go right to her website. Also, any final thoughts for our listeners? I mean, you're just a breath of fresh air. You really are, and you've always inspired me. So thank you for sharing your story. But what kind of thoughts can you give anyone that's going through challenges, or maybe they're in the mind space you were at age 16 and then, revisiting that at age 20? What kind of inspiration or advice can you give them?
You know what? I could honestly say just listen. A lot of times the answers are right around. Listen or watch. The answers are right in front of our face. So many times I've had the answer right there, and I refused to listen and determined to do it my way. But my way didn't work for many years. I mean, it's definitely this. I love my life and I'm grateful for it, but this isn't what I intended or I would have believed. It's way better than what I ever would have thought. So that's the advice I can give, and when you have a bad day, all you need to do is go to sleep and wake up in the next day and it's a new one. That's the beauty of it, the light shines and we're right there. So there are those moments when, I'm like, man, this day can't get any worse. And I know I just need to go to bed because I know, I start to think of those negative thoughts, and those negative voices are coming in telling me I'm not good enough and I can't do it. And this is over my head because, that's when I need to go to bed. Because I wake up, it's always better. Always. Yes. Always better.
Yes. Even if it's 6 o'clock at night, go to bed.
Yeah, that's okay. Sometimes you need it, right?
That's right.
I wake up at 3 and go for a run.
That's right. 3 in the morning. Oh. It's all good.
I know. It sounds crazy. I would have said the same thing. So.
But I'm sure it makes the day a whole different attitude and your energy.
It does. Yeah, it's totally different. And you know what? It's everything sounds crazy, but when you make certain changes and then that sound crazy to you, then you or little changes, then you adapt to that. Like even working out before work would have sounded crazy to me, and then, well, if I can get up at this time, well, what's 20 more minutes earlier? And then, you know what I mean? Just those changing your lifestyle, you can do it. Yeah. You can do it. So if I can do it, anyone can do it.
That's right, and that's the whole point of the show.
Yes. Yes, anything is possible. Never say never.
That's right. Very cool. Well, I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I will be obviously in touch, of course, and I love that I got to share your story, so I'm very honored. And
thank you for sharing my story. Thank you for thinking of me. That means a lot.
Absolutely. So we'll see what the future holds. I say be bright and be very open to opportunities because that's what I see for you. So I see a lot of doors opening. So lots of fun things. So just be prepared, get your mindset ready for big stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I never know. You as well. I'm so proud of you for doing this. It's awesome.
All right, wonderful. Much love to you and your kiddos and your hubby.
Okay, yay.
Take care, honey.
Bye.
Bye.